Hello and welcome everyone back to my YouTube channel where we are beyond the title. And this is just a conversation with people who inspire me, leaders who I follow, leaders who I have gotten to know and love to hear kind of about their journeys, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, around leadership, the struggles, and the things that we have faced in our life, and how people are rising above the grit, the adversity, and just moving on and being themselves. And I am so honored to be joined today by Tamara Robinson. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for having me. I'm
Yes.
excited.
So yeah, I love your story. I love your coaching. So Tamara is at passionpleasurecoach.com. I'm going to link that in our comments below so we can learn a little bit more about what you do. And I start every conversation by asking, what lights your fire? What gets you out of bed in the morning, ready for the day?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say, first of all, just being thankful for the day.
Mm.
Just, being thankful because so much is going on, so just being thankful for opening my eyes and being able to move my limbs and a practice that I've gotten into lately is just being still, like those first few moments
Mm.
that I wake up. Because I used to get up and hit the ground, like
Yeah.
feet on the floor, hit the ground running. So I love the quiet moments of the morning when I just take a few moments for myself.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm all about self-care. So that's my little form of self-care early in the morning. It doesn't have to be anything grand, but I love just the idea of just waking up and having those special moments for myself. And then also I love being able to I don't want to say walk in my purpose. That was what was coming to my
Mm.
mind, but I feel like I'm always evolving and getting closer to my purpose. I feel like I'm on the path of my purpose, as far as like helping people and being an encourager of other people. But yeah, I would say that just being on the path of walking in my purpose.
Yeah, I love that. I love the being kind of in that thankful heart and kind of waking up and starting your day from that place. I know for me too, that's really changed for me in the last couple of years. Journaling and even sometimes if I usually sleep with a journal next to my bed and travel with it. But even if I don't feel like getting up and journaling, like I said, just taking that moment, closing your eyes, and just I'm waking up today. Waking up today. I love that. Just acknowledging your body, acknowledging what's going on. So such a great tool for kind of that self care. I really love that.
A
So tell me
little
a
dose of
little bit.
self-care. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what self-care means to you. What are some of the things that you really help women? I think just, is it women you help women and men
Well, I do
with?
help women and men, women,
Yeah.
men individually and as couples. So yeah.
Love that.
But
Love
my
that.
my content is like on social media is usually geared towards women because
Mhm.
most of the people that watch my content are women. So I create a lot of female content, but I am a coach for men as well.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about the things that you work through as far as self-care through your coaching, and then how your experience in your life has kind of led you to really living that.
Okay. So well, I think you asked is what self-care means to me. I
Yeah.
really do feel like self-care is the care of yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's just, I think because it's become such a buzzword
Mm-hmm.
lately and people are like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I need all these products to self-care and I
Mm.
need to go this place for self-care and I need to take this trip for self-care or buy this new whatever for self-care." But really, it's the care of yourself that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
That's what I tell myself, and that's what I share with my clients is that it doesn't have to be anything big. And I feel like I've gotten to a point in my life where self-care is a natural part of my day. Like I
Mm.
create a moment of self-care or moments of self-care throughout my day. So it's not just a one-time thing. Like I do love a bubble bath, like hello, like who
Yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah. Right.
But maybe I don't get have time to do that every day. So being mindful even in the shower, being mindful at that moment, being mindful of the cup of tea that I'm drinking. Because I love to drink
Mhm.
tea in the morning,
Mhm.
or even if I have coffee, I'm into mushroom coffee, so I love having coffee in the morning. But savoring it, not just like gulping it down and going to the next thing. But I just really enjoy being in the moment for that moment. I do plan my day, but um, I like to just be in the moment of the moment. And I have to admit, I wasn't always this way. You
Yeah,
know, I had to unlearn a lot of things. There was a time where I would think 2 weeks ahead, 2 weeks,
right.
2 months ahead. And I was so exhausted. I would just be literally exhausted because even though I was here in the present, my mind was already so far ahead in the future. So I just had to teach myself how to take care of myself because I realized I had been neglecting myself for so long.
Yeah, yeah. So when you, and I appreciate that. It was before we started recording, I was, kind of talking about one of the things I'm looking forward to is setting up my patio. And I have a patio that sits on the west side of my house, and I have a patio that sits on the east side of my house. And
Oh, nice.
depending on the day, whether it's morning or evening, where the sun's out, or if it's too hot to sit. But one of my favorite things to do is just that some tea and just
Hmm.
sit and just how
Yes.
I love to start
Just
my day
be.
too. Just be, right? Like no distractions, no phone, just
Just
sit in
sit.
that stillness. And I love that.
Hmm.
And then you talk a little bit about, you weren't always that way.
Hmm.
So what happened? Like what was kind of the light bulb moment for you where you're like, oh, something needs to shift in this?
Right. So, it was I don't want to use that word. Like these terms are coming to mind. The term that came to mind was a failed marriage, but it was
Mm,
just a marriage that didn't work out. I don't want to
yeah,
say it was, that's
you're right.
just a different way of saying it. And it didn't work out for a reason. Why? I don't know, but we were married for 10 years, and it just got to a point where I literally, one day I was looking in the mirror and I didn't recognize who I was. I did
Yeah.
not recognize myself. I didn't, just nothing about me just made sense. And I realized that I had lost myself in the marriage, in the role, in the title of being a wife, a mother, a cook, a housewife, just all these things. And, working a job as a software engineer at the time. And I just lost myself in all of these roles and hats that I was wearing. And there were other things too that I don't always like to get into, but there were other things that took place in the marriage that were very hurtful. And,
Hmm.
I didn't get married to get divorced, but I eventually got to that point where I had no choice. I realized that if I didn't get out of the marriage, the behavior would continue. And
Yeah.
there were a lot of things. And that took a lot of coaching and counseling. Well, not coaching at the time, but counseling. We went to
Yeah.
counseling, and there were a lot of things that I discovered about myself that the counselor had to tell me. Like
Mm,
he was like, this is, you're showing signs of this. And
hmm.
I didn't realize what he was saying. And I just had to figure out a way to come back into myself and almost like rebuild myself, rebuild myself, recreate myself, reparent myself, like old, inner childhood wounds. And while I'm also raising my daughter at the time, because
Hmm. Yeah.
when we got divorced, I believe she was 5, and she's 21 now, so she's in college. So as I was reparenting myself, I was parenting her. So it was just a moment where I didn't recognize myself, and I had to figure out how to come back into myself. And it wasn't an overnight thing. It took
Yeah.
years. It took
Yeah.
years. And I did journaling and meditation, and I love to dance. Like dance is my first passion. I took my parents put me in ballet when I was 3, and I've been dancing in different styles of dance throughout my life. And I took a pole dancing class, like a pole
Yeah.
dancing fitness class, and I loved it. And it was like this femininity just
Mm.
woke up inside of me. So it's like it was just like a progression of things that eventually led me to what I do now.
And I think as individuals, as women especially, but I think all individuals kind of get to that stage of life where like I said, you've kind of lost yourself. We've become, worker bees or whatever it is in our job or raising our family or being, we are raised to be really what we think our parents want us to be.
Right.
And we kind of get
Hmm.
to that point where we haven't really discovered who we are yet.
Hmm.
And it can be really complicated when you're in a marriage and you have a child. And like now that there's a choice there, like you said, like there's this security like that's gonna kind of go away, but at the same time, like in order to get what you want there, you need to kind of move into that place. And so tell us a little bit about just kind of that choice and that fear of, man, like I know, like I said, there's maybe some new awareness of the work that you needed to do,
Hmm.
and like you said, balancing all of that with your daughter. Like, tell us a little bit more about how you helped yourself through that, or what helped you through that.
Right. I would say my faith, because
Yeah.
I'm a very spiritual person. I was really heavy into the church at the time. So I still believe in God. I just don't, maybe no, don't go to church as often as I used to. But my faith definitely helped me, because I just know that the God that I serve, the God that I love, loves me and wouldn't want me
Mhm.
to be in a situation like that. Even though, so many people were telling me, "Oh, if you get a divorce, you're going to be cursed. You're going to be, God will never bless you again." Like these are things that people in the church were telling me, and I'm like, "Do you know what I'm dealing with? Like,
Right,
I
right,
can't stay here. Like, this is
right.
ridiculous." And I mean, the I guess I was like dancing around the term that the counselor used, but he actually said, he said, even though you haven't been, it's not physical. He said, you do understand that you are exhibiting the behavior of an abused woman. And
Mm,
I was like, what are you talking about? And so he was just some of the language that I was using, some of the mindset, the behavior. And then we started walking through just the different ways that abuse shows up in a relationship. So I just had to come to terms with what I had been experiencing, and then realizing that it was never going to change. It was not going to change. But then on the flip side, once I went through the process of awakening and, you know, under I think I had to relearn who I was. I had to know who Tamara
mhm,
was, as opposed
mhm.
to the Tamara the wife, or not even Tamara the wife, the mother, the this, the that. I had to know who Tamara was. And that just took, like I said, meditation, prayer, journaling. Journaling really helped. That really helped. I think back then I didn't really have a coach. I didn't know what coaching was at the time. It was really just me trying to find a way. Like, that's all I
Yeah,
need. I was like, I just need to find a way. I just need to know. I had friends who kind of knew what I was dealing with, so I had people to talk to, but
yeah,
really it was just me and God, just
yeah.
trying to figure things out.
I don't know if it was like this for you, but I know for me, when I really started doing that work to find out who Carrie was, like you said,
Mhm.
and get past the things that I do and find out who I am, and sitting in that space and having that kind of realization for me was just a release, like an epiphany, right? Like,
Yes.
whoa, like
Like,
everything else in my
what?
life just everything looked different.
Yes.
Everything looked different.
Hmm. Yeah, everything looked different. Yeah, exactly. And I do remember this one moment that stands out, that I was, praying, or I don't even know if I think I was just in the house one day, and I just threw up my hands and I said, "What?" That's all I
Mm,
said. And the next thing I know, I pick up a pen and I start writing poetry, and I've never written poetry before.
mm,
And the words just started flowing out of me, and eventually became my first published book. It became a poetry book. Like, it was almost like the words were coming from God to my heart, and then it just came out onto the paper. And it was healing. It was a healing journey, just the process of writing the poems and then sharing the poems with
mm.
other people. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was definitely a moment. Like, I can just
I
remember. Yeah.
I love that, and thinking about, just this belief that I have, right? That there is a purpose, that God has put us on this purpose. It lives inside of us, and we just grow up trying to be something for everybody else, trying to fit into the mold,
Hmm.
trying to do things that other people want us to do in relationships, in our jobs, in all of those places. And I'm the more and more people that I talk to that have had kind of this like shake up, that it's like shut everything out, right? Shut
Yes.
off all the outside voices, everything that's telling you
Hmm.
what you need to do, and look
What you
inside
should
because it's
do.
already there. Like you
Yes.
said, you had, when all you shut all that off, it was there. The words came and it flowed. And
Yeah.
I just, that's so powerful.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Just shut everything else out and just get. And even if you're not a spiritual person, like you don't, if you don't say God or whatever, the answers are within you.
Hmm.
They're right there within you. And that's like part of the. That's almost like the foundation of the work that I do.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, about how you are now living out your purpose. What does that look like for you?
Okay. Well, like you mentioned, I call myself the passion pleasure coach, and there's a story behind that too. But um, I guess the rest of that story, when I talked about like the meditation and the journaling, and then I went to pole dancing class because there's a pole dancing class right next to there's a I won't say the name of the restaurant because we're not giving endorsements, but there was a restaurant in
Love
my
it.
area across the street from the mall, and there was a pole dancing fitness studio right next door, and I would always go in and I'm like, what do they do in there, what's going on, because
Yeah.
I love dancing. So one day I just went in, took a free like intro course, and just totally fell in love and signed up for all the classes. And I even my daughter was taking ballet at the time, so I would drop her off at ballet, take like three, dance classes, and then go pick her up. Like that was my
Love it.
schedule for for like a year or two because I just loved it. It was so much fun. And then once I did that, it was like there was this femininity, this connection with my femininity that took place in those classes, and I then began to study female orgasm. Like that's a jump.
Hmm.
Like that's
Yeah.
it feels like a jump when I'm talking about it, but I'm pretty sure there was like a course of different things that took place. But I was introduced to this course on studying the female orgasm and understanding the highs and the lows of it, and it was just so fascinating to me because it was once again me understand there was another layer of myself
Yeah.
that I was understanding because at that moment I was a single mother trying to figure out this myself in this world, and do I want to date? I don't know if I want to date. I don't know what's going on. So it was like I was evolving and learning all these things about myself, and eventually I realized, I said, while I'm doing this, I felt like I was a few steps ahead, and I said, I feel like there has to be other women that are dealing with this same thing. There's got to be someone else who's out there, whether they're in a marriage, happy, not happy, single, happy, not whatever. I said there has to be someone else who's dealing with this. So I didn't actually jump right into relationship coaching. I actually started coaching just moms, just overwhelmed moms, because that's what
Yeah.
I was that,
Yeah.
and I had figured out how to not be that. But then because I was studying the female orgasm, it was almost like that was what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how. And then in like a previous coach's email, I saw like this training to become a relationship coach. And I took the training, I took a certification. It was a year-long certification process. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what I want
This
to
is it.
do.
This
Like
is it.
this is it. This is what I want to do. And what I loved about the program is that it wasn't just us just watching videos or reading books. It was
Yeah.
all of that. But the practices, once we learned the practices, we had to do the practices on ourselves.
Hmm.
And then we would like do practice coaching with
Yeah.
other students. And so we everything that I do with my clients now, I've already done on myself and have received the benefits from it. So I
Yes.
know what it can do. So I
Yes.
really truly believe in the work that I do to help other women. So I don't really want to consider myself like I don't help women find love. So I'm not like a matchmaker, but I can help you discover and uncover the blocks keeping you from the love that you desire.
Oh, I love that. And I think kind of relates back to your story and understanding your purpose too. I mean, my husband and I, we have been together since I was 16 years old.
Oh my goodness.
16,
Congratulations.
yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes. Poor Craig. Let's just say that. Um,
Hey, it's
oh, but with that, right? Like when I think about the person that I was when we were in high school, we're not the same people.
no, there's no way you
And
could be.
no, and life experiences and again, I think as women, especially when we get into those roles of raising children, It's really hard, and there's not a lot of research, there's not a lot of medical things that help women understand ourselves, understand our
Exactly.
bodies, understand what our bodies are designed to do, understand our power as women, and how to be feminine in those spaces where we're balancing working and showing men leadership, which sometimes is a more masculine type thing, or people look at it as you have to have control, right?
Hmm.
And so there's just this unbalance in all of those places. And I was lucky enough that kind of when things started to shift for me, because I also went through that phase where I was really, really unhappy. And when
Hmm.
I was unhappy with my who I was, everyone around me was unhappy.
That's
Like
right.
my marriage wasn't great, like
Hmm.
my relationships weren't great, my jobs weren't great because I was unhappy with myself. And I wanted to blame everybody else. Like, and I did
It's
blame
easier to do that.
everybody else. Yeah.
It's
Like if
easier.
y'all would just, do what I say, life would be great.
Everybody would be happy. Like, what's
Everybody would be
wrong?
great.
Yeah.
But there was this when I started working on myself and I started doing things to make myself happy, take care of myself and live my dream,
Hmm.
love grew. Love grew
Yes.
around me, and you attract the love then, like you said, that you deserve.
Hmm.
And I see so many, my daughter's young, well, she's older, I guess. She's still young, but I see, kids her age that are so desperate for relationships. They're trying to push themselves into something, or they're trying to be somebody that they're not.
Hmm.
And it's hard to see because you know where that could
Yeah.
end up.
Hmm. Yeah. You know exactly where it's going to end up. It's like,
Yeah.
take your time. Just, you know, take your time. It's okay. You don't have to rush.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely my daughter's 28 and single, and she's had a couple of relationships, but I told her one day she ended her relationship with a long-term partner, and I'm so proud of you, because I said,
Yeah.
what was it that was, and she's like, well, because they wanted me to be somebody that I'm not, and I can't change who I am,
Hmm.
and this is who, and I was like, I'm so proud of you for doing that, for not being afraid to be alone, because you really believe in yourself and you know what you deserve, and
Yes. Yes.
so I'm
That is
so,
beautiful.
yeah.
That is beautiful. Yeah. Real quick, I love how you said she's 28, but I love prior to you saying her age, you said, "Well, she's young. Well, she's but she's young." And I'm like, "Oh, so in my mind I'm thinking, well, is she a teenager?" But then you said
Yeah. Yeah.
28. I said, "She's still your baby,
She's still my
regardless."
baby. She's still my baby. And at
Yeah.
28, I was done having kids.
Right.
Like, I look at
Right.
her and think, well, I mean, I didn't think at 28, if I was single and didn't have kids, I would have been like, ah,
So now I don't feel bad for thinking for knowing that my 21-year-old is still a baby. She's still my
yes,
baby.
still a baby.
She's still a
Always a
baby.
baby.
Yeah, she's always a baby. Yeah.
Always gonna be young.
Exactly. That's right. To me, she will be young.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So what have been some like just amazing transformational things that you've seen with people that you've worked with?
Wow. So I don't want to give too much away. I have to figure out how to
Yeah,
frame it.
yeah,
Um, um, well, there was a client that I worked with, and I'm all I'll preface this by saying my goal is to try to make a safe space for my
yeah.
clients so that they feel comfortable sharing with me. So she came to me for wanting help with her relationship
Hmm.
because it was like a little dull. It was, she wanted some new practices, new things to incorporate into her routine. And a lot of the work that I do starts with childhood. It starts with your inner
Hmm.
child. I got so much out of inner child healing that that's what I love to do with my clients is healing their inner child. And so we went through some practices and some things came up from that. And I don't want to like give it all away, but like I would say we jumped to like the end of her, I'm thinking about the end of her coaching. And she comes to me and she says, I think what I want is a threesome, but I'm afraid to ask for it. And I was like,
Yeah.
ask for it. Like
Right?
I was like celebrating her. I was like, I knew that.
Right? Right?
I
You
was like,
always see it before they do, before they're ready to say it, right?
exactly. I was like, I didn't tell her that I knew that, but I'm thinking to myself, I kind of knew that, but I was waiting for her to get to that point where she could feel comfortable saying it. And it was because in her past that that was like frowned upon. It was just like not a
Mm,
thing that you're supposed to do. So, yeah, I would say like inner when you take care of that inner child, like there's another client that I'm thinking of. When you take care of that inner child and give that child that's within all of us, there's something that that child didn't get growing
mhm,
up. And when you're able to figure out what it is, and it could be anything. It could just be love. It could just be that that child doesn't want to be the figurehead in your life. That's what I see in a lot of people. And once you first of all connect with that inner child, because that's a whole process too. But once you figure out what that child wants, you can then open yourself up to so much. And even in relationships, because sometimes what happens is our child, our inner, it's so difficult. How do you say that? Our inner children, our inner
yeah,
child,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
is in charge of our lives, and that's why
Mm,
sometimes we're making these decisions or we're doing these things and it doesn't make sense to our adult self, but it's because the child is involved. And you have to think like, think of, usually I tell my clients, think of a moment, in an impactful moment from your childhood. What age were you at that moment? And if you were 9, 10, 12, for me it was 12. If you were 9, 10, 12 years old, would I go ask a 12-year-old, hey, run my life. I need you to
mhm,
run my errands. I need you, hey, I'm having trouble with in my relationship. Would you tell me? You wouldn't do that. And that's what a
right.
lot of us do without really knowing it. So that's why I really love helping my clients connect with their inner child. I can especially do that with one-on-one clients. I can kind of scratch the surface with a group program, but with my one-on-one clients, I can really get deep into helping them connect with their inner child.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I
that's
love
the
that.
transformation that I've seen is the one that wanted the threesome and then the one that wanted the that's just realizing that the inner child was just involved in too much. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And as you think about your work and the people who are coming to you who, like you said, maybe stuck in a lot of different ways. I mean, and maybe for somebody who's listening who has been feeling that and maybe up until now didn't know that was maybe some work that needed to be done, that maybe that's what's holding them back. What's some advice you have just for anybody who's feeling what you're saying right now?
I would simply say the greatest relationship is the one you have with yourself.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, if you can really, I don't want to say figure it out because I feel like you're always evolving, but if you can just connect with yourself and get quiet with yourself and get comfortable with yourself, be comfortable in the quiet, because sometimes we have our phones with us all the time. We have all these things that our to-do list. Yes, all that is great, but if you can just really get in tune with yourself and what you want, then you'll be surprised at what your body wants to tell you. Like
Hmm.
the and that's why, I call myself the passion pleasure coach, because I want you to get passionate about yourself and find pleasure in you, because once you're able to do that, then you'll be surprised at what other areas of your life are affected once you can really get in tune with yourself and build that relationship with yourself.
Yeah. Um, I hear that, and often think about I'm not responsible for things that happen to me, but I am 100% responsible for healing, for
Yes.
moving, for taking what that was and now and healing myself and living the life that I deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And I again, I really appreciate the work that you do and taking it just not from just sex, but taking it to
Right.
that interpersonal and again, that love that starts from here. And if I don't love from here, everything else is really hard.
Yeah.
So
Now I do talk about sex on social media. That's what I
I I love your social media. I love it.
because
I
I'm just
love
answering questions.
Yeah, like I love that you make it comfortable and mainstream. I love that, these are questions that we don't talk about or, we're really kind of unsure. And I love that you create a fun space
Hmm.
to talk about it, to get it out. And I love the way that you share and that it's honest and open, and no judgment,
No
right? Like
judgment.
the what people feel and what people think and how people love,
Yeah. Because people
that's
are
you.
having sex. So let's talk
Yeah.
about it.
Let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex and orgasms, all those things. But in my coaching, like that's what I talk about because that's what people want to talk about. And that's why people usually come to me. It's just
Mhm.
that the inner, I have to figure out why. If you're coming to me with an issue, I have to figure out why you have that.
Mm,
And usually we got to go back to childhood. We have
there's
to.
something.
That's usually what happens.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just, man, if I could turn everybody to your channel, that's what I'm doing. Everybody,
Passion
go
Pleasure
talk to
Coach on
Passion Pleasure Coach. Find
Instagram and
Tamara.
TikTok. We have fun. I
Yes,
have lots of fun.
because it is. And my brother has a podcast around mental health, and and it's really about getting rid of that stigma and just having that conversation and doing it in a fun and lighthearted way and not serious in that. And that's what, like I said, that's what creates that safe space where people can connect. And you do the exact same thing in that space. Like you said, you create that space, you create where people feel like I can connect with Tamara. She's going to be real. She's
Hmm.
having fun with it. It's okay for me to have fun with it. It's
Yep.
okay for me to talk about it. And that creates that comfort for them to come and talk to you. So,
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Thank
Thank
you for the work
you.
that you do. And again, just any last words of wisdom for our listeners, and then where can people find you? Those two things.
Um, Self-care. Find find one thing that doesn't cost money because we're gonna do natural self-care. Find one thing that doesn't cost you any money that makes you feel good that you can add to your routine. I don't want to say every day. Let's add it to the routine 3 times a day.
Mm,
3 days a week. 3 days.
challenge accepted. We can do that.
3 days in a week. We'll start with three, and then if you want to make it five and then seven, you can do that too. But just one thing, three days a week.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
All
do
right,
that.
listeners, that's your challenge. Come back to our comments. Let us know what you did,
Exactly.
so we can share.
Yeah. And you can
Um,
find me I'm Passion Pleasure Coach on Instagram and TikTok. Um, Passion Coach Tamara on Facebook. But Passion Pleasure Coach, if you just search that, I'll probably pop up. And also you can go to my website, passionpleasurecoach.com, and that's where I'm listing like different things that I'm working on. I have a new project that I'm working on for alpha females. I've got a webinar on Sunday coming up
yay.
for the BBL Collective. It's the Balancing Business and Love, but I use the term BBL because we're doing non-surgical BBLs in the BBL
Yeah.
Collective. So
Love that.
it's helping women balance business and love. And my ebook is there. I've got some pleasure toys on there if you want to, if you want to spice up your relationship. So yeah. So passionpleasurecoach.com. Yep.
And I'm going to put that link in our description as well. And thank you again, Tamara, for being here. You will for sure. We'll have to connect again
Yes,
and have you on.
definitely.
But thank you for being here and sharing your story. And thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.